The next lecture is food additive. First introduction. Food additive is a substance or mixture of substances other than the basic foodstuff added in a food product to perform specific functions during production, processing, storage and packaging. The term doesn't include chance contaminants. Additives exclude pesticides, packaging materials, fertilizers, promotants and other material which may incidentally become a part of food. So there is addition of in one thing that is intentionally added and other is unintentionally added to food. If a substance is added to a food for a specific purpose, it is referred to as a direct additive. For example, aspartame, which is used in beverages, puddings, chewing gum, etc., is considered as direct additive. This aspartame is an artificial sweetener. Frequently, direct additives are identified on the ingredient label of food, as mentioned, or the ingredients in the ingredient section of packaging. Many food additives are naturally occurring and some are even essential nutrients. Food additives are classified on the basis of technological purpose and are assigned an E number. So E number refers to a particular additive like E601. Functions of food additives. Additives play a key role in maintaining the food composition and quality characteristics that consumers demand, keeping food safe, wholesome and appealing right from farm to fork. Chemical additives perform numerous functions such as these preserve or improve nutritional value of the food to make up for those likely to be lacking in a particular diet or a loss in processing. So these additives function as nutritional additives which are added for a particular purpose like vitamins or minerals. Sometimes these are lost during processing. So two terms are used for this purpose, like one is fortification and other is enrichment. These provide or aid in manufacturing, processing, preparation, packaging, transport or storage of food. The food additives is not used to disguise the effects of faulty or undesirable raw materials. These provide necessary ingredients or constituents for foods manufactured for consumers having special dietary needs and facilitate modification of food products to offer novel and convenient foods. These are used for controlling physical, chemical and microbiological changes to preserve quality, palatability, wholesomeness, lessen waste and reduce health hazards. Like some additives are used as preservatives, which uh, which inhibit the growth of microorganisms. Some act as antioxidants. These also enhance the keeping quality or stability of food or improve its sensory properties, but not to deceive the consumer. These food additives are categorized. Additives can be divided into 6 major categories such as preservatives, nutritional additives, flavoring agents, coloring agents, texturizing agents, and miscellaneous. Three types of preservatives are used in foods are first one is antimicrobial. The antimicrobial agents prevent microbial spoilage. Antioxidants are used to prevent lipid or vitamin oxidation in food products because sometimes autolysis results in oxidation of food material. Through control that autolysis, antioxidants are added. Anti-browning agents are employed to prevent both enzymatic and non-enzymatic browning reactions in food products, especially in dried food, fruits and vegetables. Nutritional additives include vitamins, minerals, amino acids. The addition of vitamin D to milk and of vitamin B complex to bread has been associated with the prevention of major nutritional deficiencies. Minerals such as iron and iodine have also been of extreme value in preventing nutritional deficiencies, such as iodine is added to salt and folic acid is added to flour. Lysine is sometimes added to the cereals to enhance the protein quality. Coloring agents, a number of natural and synthetic additives are used to impart desirable color to foods. In addition, sodium nitrate is not only used as an antimicrobial agent, but it also fixes meat color by interacting with meat pigments. So, sodium nitrate has both antimicrobial agent and color fixing properties. इसी तरह से फ्लेवरिंग एजेंट्स हैं. फ्लेवरिंग एजेंट्स include the greatest number of additives used in the food chain. There are three major types. First one is natural flavors, second synthetic flavors, and third one is flavor enhancers. Texturizing agents are used to modify the overall texture or mouthfeel of food products. Emulsifiers are and stabilizers are the primary additives in this category. जैसे emulsifiers हैं, stabilizers हैं, तो वो फेस सेपरेशन को रोकते हैं और इमल्सिफिकेशन के प्रोसेस में हेल्प करते हैं. इमल्सिफिकेशन जिसमें टू immiscible substances are mixed together and held together through these emulsifiers. Miscellaneous additives. There are numerous other chemicals used in the food products for specific yet limited purposes. These include firming agents, formulation aids, processing aids, humectants, catalysts, oxidizing and reducing agents, surface finishing agents, synergists, solvents, lubricants, and propellants. Humectants which bind the water and uh, other ones. Regulation of additives. Food and color additives are more strictly regulated today than at any other time in the history. For example, in US, the Food Additives Amendment to the FD&C Act passed in 1958 requires FDA approval for the use of an additive prior to its inclusion in food. So FDA, Food and Drug Authority, and FD&C Act, which is Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. It also requires the manufacturer to prove an additive's safety for the ways it will be used. The Food Additives Amendment exempted two categories of substances from the Food Additives Regulation and include those substances which FDA or the US Department of Agriculture USDA had determined safe for use in specific foods such as sodium nitrite and potassium nitrite used to preserve luncheon meats. The second group excluded from the food additives regulation was the substances generally recognized as safe based on their extensive history of use in food such as salt, sugar, spices, vitamins and monosodium glutamate are the classic example of such substances. There are certain benefits of additives. Some of the major benefits are safer and more nutritious food supply, greater choice of food products, lower priced food supply. Safer and more nutritious food such as preservatives and nutritional additives used in the foods increase safety and overall value of many food products. The use of many antimicrobial agents are known to prevent food poisoning from bacteria and molds, and antioxidants prevent the development of off flavors and overall oxidation processes which result in degradative changes or deteriorative changes in foods. They also inhibit the formation of secondary toxic auto-oxidation products and maintain the nutritional value of vitamins and lipids. There is greater choice of foods through use of these food additives. The use of additives facilitate the production of numerous out-of-season foods and a variety of new food products, such as preservatives play an important role in this category. Additives have led to the development of convenience foods such as snacks and extruded foods, low caloric foods, exotic foods, and a variety of food substitutes. Low priced foods. There are very few recent studies to indicate that additives reduce the overall price of foods. If additives are removed from margarine and consumers would have no alternative but to purchase a high priced spread such as butter, which usually contains few or no additives. It is also reported that if additives were removed from bread, wines and processed cheese, new processing procedures would increase the refrigeration cost and improved packaging would also be required at a high cost to make the similar type of products. So these additives are basically used for preservative purpose, and otherwise these food products have to be preserved through refrigeration systems which need a high cost. There are also certain risks associated with these additives. Despite the benefits attributed to food additives, there are a number of concerns regarding the potential short and long term risk of consuming these substances. Only a few additives are used at levels that can have a direct toxicological impact. Toxicological problems resulting from the long term consumption of additives are not well studied. Cancer and reproductive problems are of primary concern, although there is no direct evidence linking additive consumption with the occurrence of these problems in humans. Assessment of food additives intakes, rationale of food additives intake estimation, safety estimation of additives, and ADIs, guidelines of maximal permitted limits of food additives, propagation of information to consumers, system of estimating dietary intake of food additives, one phase method, two phase method, and market basket method. Safety estimation of additives and ADIs. The safety estimation of additives is based on the evaluation of toxicity studies performed on animals to determine a specific acceptable daily intake, which is represented as ADI, for each food additive. The estimated intake and the ADI of food additives are compared to assess the safety of the current exposure to the additive. The average intake of food additives is considered to be safe only if it is much lower than the established ADI. Practically, the average intake of food additives by adults hardly exceeds 30% of their acceptable daily intakes. The reported estimation of food additives intake is usually between 0 to 10% of their respective ADIs. Guidelines of maximum permitted levels of food additives. Government expert committees and regulatory bodies define nationally accepted maximum additive concentrations which are permitted in food. Regulations vary throughout the world. Some countries adopt liberal policy for the use of certain food additives while others strictly control the use of additives. One approach to calculate the maximum limits for the additives in foods is to consider the maximum consumption of food and drink that cannot exceed for physiological reasons. Children have highest rate of food and drink consumption, 50 gram of food and 100 ml of drink per kg body weight per day, and these figures can be used with ADIs to calculate the maximum average concentration of an additive permissible in food and drink. The third one is propagation of information to consumers. Consumers are increasingly aware of contaminants and additives in food and often express concern about food safety or a desire for a quick availability of information. However, the steps taken by governmental agencies may include the following. All food additives should have a safety margin incorporated into their acceptable daily intakes or their equivalent. This information should be published. Any toxic effect detected in experimental animals is not likely to occur in human due to safety factor. The intake of food additives should be surveyed regularly and maximum permitted concentration in food should be reconsidered and reduced if intakes approach current ADIs. Method of analysis and scientific knowledge should be improved and new information should be used to reassess the value or safety of food additives. The structure of government committees should be established in such a way that a new information can be assessed and appropriate actions can be taken without delay. System of estimating dietary intake of food additives. One phase method. Estimation based on production and foreign trade. The estimation of food additive usage in a given country can be calculated from the amounts of food additives produced, exported, and imported by that country. Surveys of food industry usage. Records of purchase or use of food additives by the food industry can be collected to estimate the total usage of additives. Dividing this amount by the number of consumer yields an estimate of the average intake of that food additive. Analysis of duplicate meals. The most accurate method for estimating food additive intakes is the analysis of duplicate meal samples for various additives. This method of estimating food additives intakes has been used either alone or in combination with food consumption data. The former can be considered a one-phase method and the latter a two-phase method. Two-phase method: assumption of maximum permitted levels, which is also uh, represented as MPL. It is based on the assumption that the concentration of the food additive in each food item is a permitted maximum. The estimated daily intake is calculated by multiplying the maximum permitted level, which is milligram per kg of an additive in the food item, by average consumption of various food items, grams per day. This calculation is carried out for all food items which may contain that additive. The sum of results gives a total intake milligram per day for that food additive. Selective studies of individual foods. Another approach is to select individual food items that contribute significantly to the total dietary intake of an additive in question and analyze the additive concentrations in these foods. The criteria for selecting these food items are: the use of additives has been permitted in food items, and either the food items have a high consumption rate or the food items contain high concentration of additives. Market-based basket method. The market basket method, also considered as total diet study, uses collection of food items representing the typical pattern of food consumption. The foods are obtained from retail shops and are prepared adding spices, herbs, dressing, etc. to incorporate the usual gains and losses of food additives. Cataloging of risks and benefits. Risk categories. Most food-borne risks are not associated with food additives. The major hazards associated with foods, including additives, are categorized into 5 groups: foodborne hazards of microbial origin, nutritional hazards, environmental contaminant hazards, foodborne hazards of natural origin, food and color additive hazards. Benefit categories. The benefits derived from the food supply generally fall into 4 categories: health benefits that reduce some health risk or provide some health benefits such as improved nutrition; supply benefits relating to abundance, diversity, and economic availability; hedonic benefits which provide sensory satisfaction. So, hedonic scale or hedonic represents the sensory evaluation or sensorical properties. Benefits which are associated with increased convenience. Safety evaluation. A food additive must have established a useful purpose by undergoing a rigorous scientific safety evaluation before it can be approved for use. At international level, there is a joint expert committee from the Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO) and the World Health Organization (WHO) on food additives (JECFA). Joint Expert Committee from the Food and Agriculture, which provides guidelines at a global level and sets standards for purity of food additives. The Codex Alimentarius Commission develops guidelines for food safety globally. It is drawing up new general standards for food additives (GSFA) with the aim of establishing a harmonized, workable, and indisputable international standards for world trade. Codex Alimentarius Commission has formulated various general principles for the use of food additives, which are comprised of sections on food additive safety, justification for the use of additives, good manufacturing practices, specification for the identity and purity of food additives. So, Codex Alimentarius Commission basically sets standards, provides standards for certain food additives or food substances, and good manufacturing practices are the overall manufacturing practices which provide you with the safe food and overall good practices. These standards are used by many countries in addition to developing their own standards. In Europe, it is the European Food Safety Authority (EFSA) panel on the food additives, flavorings, processing aids, and materials in contact with food which is responsible for this task. Criteria are generally used in assessing whether a food additive is permitted in foods. It poses no unacceptable risk to human health when used in the amounts up to the specified permitted limits. There is a demonstrable need for the substance and it fulfills a technological function that benefits consumers. It is used in any food only up to a level that achieves a technological function, even if higher levels might pose no threat to human health. So this is general introduction to food additives.